Star Trek, the Kobayashi Maru. Chapter 3, Halley. Kirk had shifted position at McCoy's insistence, elevating his knee by sitting with his back to the bulkhead and his legs stretched across the row of empty seats. He sat in that position, drumming his fingers against the seat back, for perhaps a full minute before embarrassed irritation finally moved him to suggest, "It wasn't that funny, Doctor." McCoy choked his laughter down until it became a sporadic chuckle. "Yes, it is, Jim." The doctor paused in rummaging through his medikit to lean back in his seat and regain his breath. "It's so in character. I'm surprised I didn't just guess it." Kirk made a face he didn't think McCoy could see across a half light between them. Too bad. It seemed a pity to waste such honest annoyance on darkness. "Is that supposed to offend me?" The doctor shrugged. "It's your self-image." "I don't think I understand." Chekhov had joined them from the front hatch, partway through Kirk's narration. He sat now with his back against the airlock doors, his arms folded on his drawn-up knees. Lamplight brushed blue highlights into the lieutenant's brown hair, while distance hid his dark-eyed face in shadow. "Are you saying that you cheated?"
"Mr. Chekhov!"
McCoy's tone was mock scolding, his face too studiously serious to be sincere.
"Cheated is a trite, misapplied word to what our captain accomplished."
Picking something out of his medikit, he tilted it into the light for purposes of identification.
"He exercised the commander's prerogative of creativity in the face of adversity."
"I changed the conditions of the test." Kirk attempted to elaborate, but McCoy overrode him again.
"His solution doesn't even apply to the test his classmates took."
Disregarding whatever he'd found, McCoy returned to his rummaging. Chekhov looked from Kirk to the doctor as though trying to catch some communication between the two that he was missing. "You cheated!" Kirk felt his face twist into a sardonic smile he doubted he would have recognized in a mirror. "I've been cheating my whole life," he said, before he thought better of it. "Fate just never figured it out until now." Like wax under a particle beam, the tenuous good humor evaporated, leaving only thick, churning silence. Kirk wanted to apologize, but realized that would only make things worse. He listened to McCoy's quiet searching and Scotty's clatter in the back and waited for someone to brave another topic. McCoy, as usual, was the first to break the quiet.
"Come on,"
the doctor grumbled as he stood, nudging Chekhov with one foot.
"Get into a seat. This metal decking will leach the heat right out of your backside. I don't need a hypothermia patient on top of everything else."
Chekhov climbed obediently to his feet. Kirk caught just a glimpse of the lieutenant's troubled, half-angry expression as Chekhov passed through the light on his way to an empty seat in the row behind Sulu.
"Even the seats won't be safe soon. As long as it's colder out there than it is in here, all the insulation in existence can't keep us alive."
He dropped into his center seat and turned hooded, frightened eyes on the encroaching vacuum.
"Practical physics in action."
Of course it was Chekhov who remained mindful of the death waiting outside the shuttle's doors. Kirk sometimes thought his security chief had spent so much time fighting to stand upright between bludgeoning practicality and blind idealism that he'd finally been torn apart, afraid now to take a step in either direction lest he lose his grasp on the other. Who had done that to him? Kirk sometimes wondered. And why would anyone want to? "Don't give up," Kirk advised, wishing he could follow his own advice. "We've got quite a few hours before we have to worry about freezing. Scotty could practically build a new ship in that time."
"If freezing's all you're worried about," Scott volunteered from the rear of the shuttle, "a ship we've got now will suit us fine."
Kirk's knee barked a protest as he twisted about to face the burly engineer trudging down the center aisle. Equipment belt askew on his hips, Scott passed one hand through his rumpled hair, to no particular effect, an afterthought to his physical appearance. He smiled ruefully at Kirk and stepped around the emergency lamp. "What's the word?" Kirk already knew the answer would not be good. Scott's initial reply was to pass into the forward hatch and lean across the helmsman's chair. Strong, cool light washed away the darkness as the engineer thumbed a series of toggles. The shuttle itself seemed to heave a grateful sigh. Kirk smiled.
"We've got heat, too,"
the Scotsman volunteered as he returned to the middle chamber.
"We won't be feeling it for another hour or so, but it's working. We won't freeze. And we've got more than starlight to see by."
McCoy paused in his examination of Kirk's knee to click off the lamp on the edge of the seat.
"This looked better in the dark, Jim."
Kirk grimaced. McCoy had slid his trouser leg clear up to the thigh, and the offending knee had swelled to accommodate. The chemical cold pack draped across Kirk's leg didn't hide the purple-black bruising, or do much to relieve the pain. McCoy tucked the pack under an elbow as he readied another hypo. Kirk listened to Scott with pointed attention so he wouldn't have to observe the injection.
"So we have engine power?"
Kirk wanted Scott to keep talking.
"We've got generator power,"
the engineer obliged him.
"but no engine ability worth speaking of."
Scott leaned back against the bulkhead, stretching his shoulders in a slow, soul-weary motion.
"It's like that with gravitic mines,"
he explained, sighing.
"You get what damage the strained engines inflict upon themselves, and then whatever damage the gravitic stress does on top of that. I can hardly track it all down. The damage patterns make that little sense. Does that mean we're still drifting?"
McCoy retrieved Kirk's attention and applied the hypospray to his arm just in time for Kirk to notice the doctor.
"Aye, Doctor," Scott admitted. "It means that."
McCoy turned away to tend Sulu, a bit too abruptly, and Scott seemed to feel some need to elaborate.
"I've got shunting equipment I can barely identify right now, much less repair. Because of that, the generator and the engines aren't—"
He waved his hands as if grasping after an appropriate phrase.
"Well, aren't on speaking terms exactly. We can run the lights and heat for another 100 years or so, but we cannot change our course so much as a centimeter without outside help."
And their only prospect of help came from Spock and the Enterprise. Kirk wondered if there was really any chance a starship could save them, or if abandoning what tenuous hope he placed in that chance would be more wise. Like Chekhov, torn between placing his faith in what should happen or what would happen, Kirk decided that miracles were made, not waited on. If he wanted to win this scenario, he would just have to cheat again.
"Scotty, is there any chance we can salvage the radio?"
Scott looked across the shuttle to Chekhov.
"Lad?"
The Russian shook his head.
"I pulled the master board."
He aimed a nod toward the front compartment, and a look of self-reproach so intimate it startled Kirk moved across the lieutenant's face.
"It's on my chair, along with what I could remove of the receiver."
Scott disappeared into the forward compartment again, and Kirk heard the engineer make a soft but distinct sound of disgust. When the captain glanced inquiringly at Chekhov, the lieutenant volunteered,
"Gravitic stress. I might be able to cannibalize some of what I have back here."
Scott stomped through on his way back toward the rear, one hand clamped about a shattered, blackened collection of what might once have been circuitry.
"It's better than sitting idle."
Sitting idle. The phrase stabbed Kirk with gentle guilt, despite the thick pain in his injured leg. I should be doing more. He looked across the aisle at Sulu and McCoy. The helmsman had slipped into waxen unconsciousness a half hour ago, but McCoy's ministrations roused him now. As he became aware of the lapse, Sulu murmured, "I guess I fell asleep. I'm sorry, sir." Kirk shrugged, then realized Sulu wasn't in a position to appreciate the gesture. "You didn't miss much."
"The captain cheated on his Kobayashi Maru,"
Chekhov volunteered from the row behind Sulu.
"Sir?"
Sulu asked. Kirk sighed. McCoy told him.
"I'm not too surprised,"
the helmsman admitted with a smile when the doctor finished speaking.
McCoy snorted. "I said the same thing," he told Sulu. "Only the captain nearly demoted me."
"It's the injury, Doc. It grants me immunity." Sulu dissolved without warning into quiet, pain-filled chuckling. "God protects fools, children, and invalids." McCoy tossed Kirk a questioning look, and the captain only shrugged. Turning back to the helmsman, the doctor prodded,
"Come on, Sulu, what's the joke?"
Sulu gathered his breath in a contented sigh. "I was thinking about fools, and the Kobayashi Maru."
Before Sulu could elaborate, Chekhov suggested from behind him, "You haven't that much immunity." Despite Chekhov's threatening tone, the proclamation seemed to amuse Sulu all the more. "What's this?" McCoy's eyebrows rose in innocent interest. "Someone else on the shuttle took the Kobayashi Maru test?" Chekhov remained pointedly fixated with whatever was outside his viewport, his face darkening. With embarrassment or anger, Kirk couldn't tell. When he didn't volunteer a reply, Sulu explained, "We both did." The chuckling overtook him again. "Only I left the simulator intact when I was done." McCoy burst into laughter, and Kirk endeavored to suppress a smile. "Turnabout's fair play, Mr. Chekhov," Kirk enjoined. Chekhov's resolve buckled slightly. The lieutenant's stubborn, "It's embarrassing," was so quiet Kirk almost didn't think he'd heard. "It's always embarrassing," the captain allowed. "It's part of the test." "Actually," Sulu allowed, "the Kobayashi Maru isn't the embarrassing part." "Sulu!" Chekhov warned again, this time more seriously. "It's just sort of set up for the good part," Sulu persisted, despite Chekhov's displeasure. "It's a great story, really." The Russian heaved a rough sigh of frustration and maintained his study of the stars. "All right, then," he grumbled. "You tell them if you want to. I don't care." "Come on, Mr. Chekhov." Kirk felt the need to alleviate a little of the stress building between the two officers. "How bad can it be?" Sulu giggled. "You'd be surprised." When Chekhov turned a confused, betrayed look on his friend, Kirk echoed McCoy's earlier quip, "It'll pass the hours," and hoped the security officer would understand. Chekhov didn't seem to realize anything fell between the spoken words until Kirk made eye contact with him for a number of seconds. Then the captain saw understanding dawn in the dark Russian eyes, and Chekhov nodded faintly, slowly. Somewhere behind his assent, Kirk could see that dim war still going on. He watched practicality win an uneasy victory over whatever Chekhov's emotions demanded, and felt both guilty and relieved. "It really isn't funny," Chekhov insisted. The lieutenant pursed his lips and turned back toward the viewport again. "It's more embarrassing than anything else."